Next, on ABC 7's Good Morning El Paso weekend, police have released the identity of the third traffic fatality in El Paso for 2015. We have the details. Also, did you sign up for health care during the last open enrollment? Well, if you didn't, your 2015 taxes are going to be getting a big surprise in them. And what a win last night for the UTEP men's basketball team. The Miners took home a win for their first conference game of the season. We'll have all the highlights. And in storm track weather, Dan.
Well, we lifted the first alert, no longer having to deal with any type of precipitation across the area, but still tracking a very cold morning with those wind chill factors. We'll talk about that coming up.
It's all the news you need to start your Saturday, January 3rd of 2015. ABC 7's Good Morning El Paso weekend starts right now.
Live, where news comes first. From the Mesilla Valley and Las Cruces to El Paso and the Borderland. This is ABC 7's Good Morning El Paso weekend.
Good morning and thank you for joining us. I'm Andrew J. Polk. Josie Ortegon is on vacation this weekend. Well, a serious game last night for the UTEP Miners basketball team. The Miners took on the Mean Green in conference play last night in North Texas at the Super Pit. The Miners went into the game at 8-4, while the Mean Green held a record of 6-6. And on that first possession just a second ago, Omega Harris got the three. The freshman finished with 12 points. North Texas came out strong as well. They had a 13-6 lead early on in this game, but the Miners came back strong to lead the half at 44-31. And in the second half, nothing changed. UTEP stayed in control. The Miners get the 85-71 win on the road, their first true road win of the season. Now with a record of 9-4 and 1-0 in Conference USA play as well. We will have all the highlights from yesterday's conference game later on in sports. And new this morning, this is video from our TexDOT camera this morning. We're getting reports of icy road conditions in central and east El Paso this morning. One car lost control near Airway and Gateway West and rollover just after 6 a.m. It appears to be because of black ice in that area. There were no injuries reported, but crews are sanding the roads in that area as well. Police closed the on-ramp, but it has now been reopened if you're heading out today. So if you are going out, give yourself some extra time and slow down on the roads as you head out again. So to storm track weather now, let's get your first forecast with storm tracker Dan Martinez. Dan, what's going on out there right now?
Well, we've lifted that first alert. Things are slowly going to start warming up into the temperatures about mid-40s today here across the area. Here's a look at what we had earlier today on clouds and radar. The last 6 hours looping for you. You really start to see the clouds move out of the picture, as well as that snow from Las Cruces, Alamogordo, and Ruidoso as well. Here's what you can expect for the day today. At 9 o'clock this morning, 36 degrees, 42 by noon, and then 45 degrees at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Those winds will slowly start to die on down, and we are talking about those cold wind chill factors as we mentioned. Here's a look at those right now. 20 degrees is what it feels like in El Paso, feeling like 17 in Las Cruces and Deming, and feeling like 10 in Silver City and 11 for Ruidoso. So definitely something you want to be careful with out there, folks. We'll be updating you as we go through the show here, and we'll show you the entire rest of the region's forecast coming up. Andrew?
All right, thanks a lot, Dan. Definitely a chilly morning. Well, we are only 3 days into 2015, and the city has already recorded 3 traffic fatalities on El Paso's roads. The last happened just before 8 o'clock yesterday morning on the 12,400 block of Edgemere in front of El Dorado High School. That's in East El Paso. Now, police say that 40-year-old Adrian Renteria was killed after the motorcycle he was riding was hit by an SUV. The driver, 44-year-old Maria Ramirez, was leaving the school's parking lot when, according to police, she failed to yield the right-of-way to Renteria. Renteria was wearing a helmet but died at the scene. Alcohol is not suspected to be a factor in this crash, but there are no word yet on if any charges will be filed against Ramirez. Now to the second deadly wreck of this new year. This one happened in the Lower Valley this week. This one involved a Sun Metro bus. We told you about it when it happened on the 7600 block of North Loop. The man who was killed after slamming his SUV into the bus from behind has been identified as 21-year-old Gilberto Guerra. Investigators say the bus has pulled over at a bus stop waiting to load and unload passengers. Police say that Guerra was speeding. He was taken to Del Sol Medical Center where he later died. We're told the bus driver, 2 passengers, and a man about to board the bus were hurt, but their injuries were not serious. Now, those wrecks followed an early morning crash in West El Paso on New Year's Day. 34-year-old Natalie Villarreal lost control of her car on the Red Road off-ramp. She died at the scene. Her 36-year-old husband was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Police do believe that Villarreal was drunk at the time of the crash. And El Paso police are asking for your help in identifying two men they say burglarized a car, then used a stolen credit card to make purchases. According to police, sometime after 4 o'clock on December 3rd, a woman's wallet was taken from her car in central El Paso in the Buena Vista area. The card was then later used on that day on Saturday, December 6th. One of the places police say it was used was at the AutoZone located at 3820 Dyer. The suspects are described as a Hispanic males in their late 20s and early 30s. One of the suspects was wearing a Dallas Cowboys jersey and the other was wearing a black and gray jacket with an Oilers logo. Investigators are asking anyone with information to call Crime Stoppers of El Paso. That number there on your screen, 566-8477 or 8477-TIPS. Now, many Americans could be in for an expensive surprise this tax season, a dramatic decrease in their refund. Those who receive subsidies under the Obamacare Act could owe the IRS because the credits they received to offset their insurance premiums were too large. That's because enrollees had to estimate their income for 2014, and many didn't know exactly what they'd earn. Some went off what they earned in 2012. It was also set up to enrollees to report major changes that could affect their income, including new jobs or a marriage. People who didn't have health insurance at all in 2014 are also facing a fine. Now, officials continue to search hundreds of square nautical miles in an effort to find more bodies and debris from AirAsia Flight 8501. So far, 30 bodies have been recovered and 4 have been identified, including a 22-year-old crew member. Celine Surfey has the latest from Washington.
Another casket arrives, a hug, a pause for prayer. In Surabaya, this is the heartbreaking pattern the families of those on Flight 8501 face as each body is found in the Java Sea. Among the victims, a 22-year-old flight attendant, Karonisa Haider Fauzi, known as Nisa. Her family says she had an adventurous spirit which drove her dream of becoming a flight attendant.
She knew the risk, but she loved this. It was her dream. She loved traveling.
But as some families say goodbye, others are locked in an agonizing wait. Most of the 162 on board still remain missing.
Some of us get sick. Even one of my brothers is hospitalized yesterday. So we're just kinda in the stage that, we just hope everything is gonna end soon.
At sea, the search continues with crews battling tough weather conditions with waves as high as 13 feet. Search teams are now focused on a 2,000 square mile zone, an area roughly the size of Long Island. The most recent find, something that resembles a window pane, according to Singapore's defense minister. But time is ticking to find the aircraft's cockpit voice and flight data recorders, the so-called black boxes. The Pinger batteries, which send acoustic signals for detection, have just over 3 weeks of battery life left. With batteries drained, they'll go silent. I'm Celine Surfati reporting.
Police say 4 people died when a small plane crashed in rural Kentucky late Friday. The lone survivor, a brave 7-year-old girl who walked nearly a mile to the nearest house in search of help. This is video from early Saturday morning as crews looked for the wreckage. The FAA says the pilot had reported engine trouble and tried to divert to a nearby airport. Kentucky State Police say that the plane was en route from Illinois to Key West, Florida. The young girl was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
Child myself, I just turned 8 years old, little girl, and when I saw this it appeared to be 7-year-old child that had walked through this dense forest and through some really tough terrain and some awfully poor weather conditions tonight and survived this, I mean, it's just really a miracle.
The National Transportation Safety Board is expected to be on the scene later today. And still ahead on ABC7's Good Morning El Paso weekend, a mix of snow, rain, and ice made traveling through Texas difficult the last few days. We'll explain coming up. And later, in about a week, the U.S. Olympic Committee will announce the city which will represent the U.S. in the 2024 Olympic bid. Details coming up. It is 8:09 right now. Taking a look at your traffic. We had reports of some ice on the roads earlier, so be careful as you go out, but it seems to be moving pretty well here on Airway right now. But again, be careful and watch your speed on the roads. And in storm track weather, Dan.
All right, keeping an eye to the sky for you this morning. Still cold out there. We'll go over the wind chill factors now and what you can expect for the rest of the day coming up.
You're watching ABC7, where news comes first.